Welcome to Ezayola Online English. In today's tutorial, we need to look at the singular and the plurals. When we say singular, of course, there is no doubt. Singular just refers to one, something that is one. Okay? Any object, human, whatever it is, one. Then the plural goes beyond one. Okay? That's something that everybody should know, of course. When we say that something is in its singular, it means that thing is representing one. But plural means beyond one. Okay, normally in nouns, those days in our little level in education, when we were still at the kindergarten, we were taught singular and plural forms of the nouns. For the nouns, if we have something like singular here, okay, singular, here is plural, okay, then we are told or we are given assignments such as boy, such as girl, and then maybe table, something like this. We have something like this on the board. If this were to be an assignment given to a child, already the teacher has succeeded writing these names, which are nouns, in their singular form. And in a tabular manner or way, manner of presentation, the boy, the girl, the table, they appear under the column of the singular. Now, the teacher expects the child to put them in their plurals. What does the child need to do? For the boy, he or she must have to write boys. You add the S, okay, to make it plural. One boy, a boy, three boys. You cannot say three boy, okay? You say three boys, four boys, and so on. What about the girl? The girl is also girls. You add the S. And the table, one table, of course, three tables, okay? Now, what do you notice? We add the S in the plural forms of the nouns. Very, very important. Of course, this is very simple. Everybody has to know this. Now, today we are looking at something different. The singular aspects of the nouns. What have we seen? In the singular forms of the nouns, they do not admit S. In words like boy, girl, table, there is no S. But in their plural forms, what do we notice? They have to admit, is a must. Because they are now in plurals, they must admit S. You include the S to them. Okay, but look at these words. Here we have these words as verbs. The first one is does. And the second one is goes. We have eats. We have cries. Now, very important, let's take note of something. These are verbs, actually, they are not nouns. And these verbs, they are all written in their singular. Of course, they are present tense. Does is a present tense form of verb. Goes is the same present tense form of the verb. Eats is the same thing. Cries is equally the same thing. But the point is this, they are under their singular. They are written in their singular. Now, you begin to see reasons to get into a slight confusion because the singular verbs, they admit S, unlike what we have in the nouns. In the singular nouns, they do not admit S. But the singular forms of verbs, they admit S. Now, let us obtain these singular verbs in their plurals. For does, what is the plural? If does is a singular verb, how do we write it in its plural form? It becomes do. What about goes? Goes becomes go. And eats, where we have S, it becomes eat. What about cries? Cries becomes cry. Now notice something. Normally, nature has to, give you reason to be confused. If naturally, the singular forms of the nouns, they don't admit S, but in their plurals, they do. Why is it a different thing altogether when we come over to the verbs? We have a contradiction because in the verbs, their singulars, they admit s, but in their plurals, they do not. So we need to take note of this. Now, let us see something. When we want to apply the use of these singular and plural verbs to make sentences, that is when we understand this. We now talk about blending, the subjects and the verbs, the singular subject admitting the singular verbs, and the plural subject admitting the plural verbs. For example, if I say something like, he does visit me, he does visit me every day. Every day. Every day. Now look at this. We are talking about somebody here. He, this is a pronoun, he, okay, representing one person. That means the subject here, which is a pronoun, is singular. And the verb should be in the singular. He does, okay? He does visit me every day. Now, you cannot say he do. When you say he do visit me every day, this is a wrong English. We don't accept this. We can't. Never. All right? He do visit me. But then you say they do. Something like they. Now, when they here becomes the subject, that means the they here is representing more than one person. It could be 2, 3, and above. So you then say, they do. And it would be very wrong to say, they does visit me. So in our rule of concord, which in the long run, we shall talk about it in detail, we notice, or we must have to take note, that verbs must be blended or must, agree with their subjects. The verbs that are singular must agree with their subject. If the subjects are singular too, all right, that's the rule of concord. And when those verbs are plural, they must agree with their plural subject. So please take note that singular verbs, they admit s, but the plural verbs, they do not admit s. Unlike what we have in the nouns. Very, very important. People easily speak like this, but they do not have this knowledge that the singular forms of the verbs, especially people that are still learners in English language, that's why we are bent on opening your eyes to understand all these things and then to have them at the tip of your fingers. They do not know that singular forms of the verbs admit s. They don't even know why, okay? And the plural forms, they do not, unlike what we have in the nouns. The nouns, of course, they are singular, they don't admit s. They are plurals, they do. But we have a contradiction when it comes to verbs. Thank you very much. If you've really enjoyed this teaching, kindly subscribe to our channel on Ezayola. Follow us on Facebook, Ezayola Online English. Thank you very much.